is to think of the church as the following. It is a liturgical community, it is a catechetical community, and it is a missional community. Again, it's not the only way to think about the church, but this is one way that I think can foster and encourage good, generative conversation about what it means to be the church. A liturgical community, meaning of course it's a worshiping community. By catechetical community, I mean it's a teaching, learning community. And I'm using catechetical in the broader sense of religious instruction. So we're a teaching, learning community, growing in faith, hope, and love as we are teachers. And then thirdly, we're a missional community where we seek to be witnesses to the inbreaking of the reign of Christ in our communities, in our neighborhoods, our cities, and our world. The ideal, of course, is that all three of these happen in a way that is iterative. That is, that we're not just a liturgical community over here, and then over here we're a teaching, learning community, and over here we're a missional community, but while some of you, and I'm deeply aware that for many of you, that's what you are called to be, to provide leadership for the church as a liturgical community. My world and my zone is more probably on the catechetical side. I'm a theologian, I'm a teacher, that's my zone, and I know when I move into the liturgical zone, some of you would probably find me a little suspect. We know there's a good school that you could go to that would strengthen your capacities over there. And I revel in those people who have the particular capacity to help the church be in the world. That is, the particular capacity to train and equip and empower participants in the faith community to actually be game changers as they witness in word and deed to the inbreaking of the reign of Christ. That is to alter the equation in our world. And so we need expertise, we need capacity, we need people who are skilled in all of those, but we also need to be able to do so in ways that are not, I don't know if the right word is competitive, but where we're playing off of one another, we're learning from one another. And thus, for one for whom my primary zone is in the catechetical side of what it means to be the church, I find it deeply privileged to be able to come into this community and live and work and eat and fellowship and worship with, but also then to have a conversation with. And I'm honored that you would actually ask me to teach. I'm not a liturgically inclined person. I'm a worshiper, but that's not my area of expertise. I'm a theologian. And that you would invite me into your company and be able to let me have some airtime with people that have graduated from this institution, and to do so unapologetically as a theologian deeply concerned about the catechetical side of the church. Thank you. Now, I got a little pushback on a couple of points this afternoon, and I've handled that on the whole relatively well. I was even affirmed for not being overly defensive about the ways in which I got that pushback. But let me explain to you why that's the case. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. I have 6 grandchildren. All 6 of these grandchildren, I think, like me a lot, as far as I can tell. But the granddaughters are unequivocally more expressive of this. That is, they would actually go so far as to say, I'm awesome. Now, you may find that a little awkward. You may be thinking to yourself, Gordon, just because your granddaughters think you're awesome does not mean you're awesome. It just means your granddaughters think you're awesome. However, if you were to meet my granddaughters, you'd be immediately impressed that they are young women of extraordinary good judgment. Just saying. So for future reference, keep that in mind. I offer that observation only to say this. I actually think that they think I'm awesome because I think they're awesome. I have no issue on this. I know full well why they think so highly of me. All they're mirroring is my sheer delight in them. And for what it's worth, that's the gospel. Why do we bless God? Because he's impressed with us? No, he blesses us and we bless him back. And we embody the gospel within our family systems and communities. And for me, what it means then is that our faith communities, the churches of which we're a part, are communities of blessing, where older ones are blessing younger ones. And together, we are worshiping together in an intergenerational way. And together, we are worshiping, learning together, and together, we're on mission together. We're on mission. That is embracing and engaging our world. But all of that also speaks of intergenerationality, and on this point, I'll have a little bit of a furrowed brow. One of the things that has emerged, and I don't know if you've noticed it within your world or within your community, one of the things that has emerged, and it's very much the case within my denomination, that churches within my denomination have grown, and of course that's the operative word, they've leveraged what is called stratification. That is, they have stratified, and by stratifying, they have grown. So I'll take one example, because this church doesn't mind being named, and that is Peace Portal Alliance Church in White Rock, British Columbia. They have done this brilliantly well. That is, the older service, when I preached there the last time, I'm the youngest person in the room. I have people who will come up to me afterwards and say, "Oh, you're Cecil and Eunice's son, right?" I have a name, you know. I'm not just the child of these older people that you love dearly, but I'm the youngest person in the room. We break for coffee, I come back, and when I come back, I'm the oldest person in the room. And they've done this brilliantly well. They have become the go-to place in what is called the Lower Mainland. If you're a senior retired in the area, you can sing the old-time gospel hour in that first service. You come back to the second hour, and it rocks. And the age group between like 45 and 55, or 45 and 60, it isn't there. They've very brilliantly stratified. It's a very dumb, I know there's a better word, but there's a very dumb approach to congregational life and witness. Wow. The genius of effective and powerful congregations will be intergenerationality in worship, in learning, and in service. And thus my reference to my granddaughters is a way to set up to say, I want to be part of communities where indeed I can be a surrogate grandfather to the next generation, passing on wisdom, but also I know the wisdom goes both ways. So yes, we're liturgical, catechetical, and missional, but not in a way that separates these generations. And so there was something about entering into, and I don't want to overstate the stereotype, but coming into the worship on Sunday afternoon and singing the robed choir, and I don't know what word to use for the rest of you over to the other side. What should I call you? I see some of you there. The worship band, can I call you that? What's the designation that would not deeply offend your catechetical sensibilities? I see two pianists here. What do I call that group over to the left?
Pastoral musicians.
Pastoral musicians.
Oh, yeah!
All right, IWS, you gotta preach.
But there's the drums, there's the bass, that's a serious bass. There's the guitar players and the piano. Bless your hearts that indeed you haven't in a sense polarized these two distinct approaches to worship. And indeed what I sensed was they were bilingual. They could move into ancient forms and contemporary forms. And if you can do that, you can keep us from stratifying. And I can worship with my sons and their wives, these extraordinary women, my daughters-in-law. Didn't have to raise them, I just kind of got them. These fabulous women. And my grandchildren, intergenerationally worshiping together, learning together, and serving together. That's what I long for. And if you could help make that happen, I'd be deeply grateful. Bless you, each one. Good to be there.